Our mission as the Historic Vehicle Association is to share America's automotive heritage with the American people. It's really that simple.
These are really monuments to mobility, and for us Americans, generally that means freedom and independence. So it's appropriate, of course, that we have these cars here today in Washington, D.C.
It's truly astounding, particularly if you walk some distance away and then look back at it, and you realize these cars are actually sitting on the mall in line with the Washington Monument and the Capitol and the Lincoln Memorial. It's pretty amazing.
Bringing this all together is just an incredible feeling. What the HVA is out here doing, it's invaluable.
I consider the HVA's mission here to be probably the single most important automotive history project that I've ever seen or been a part of. The pursuit and diffusion of knowledge, and diffusion being spreading of knowledge. Watching the people, the tourists come through here, they get the information from the sign, they immediately relate to it.
It's an even richer experience when you're here and you're actually up front and you put it all into context. The 1909 white steam car was the first presidential limousine, in fact the first automobile purchased by the White House.
The connection with President Taft, the culture, the development that followed after that is just incredible.
It's a physical remnant that gives you an idea of what it might have been like. You don't get the same thing if you're reading a book or you're having somebody tell you about it.
The journey of the steamer from Washington to Cape Cod, back to Washington today is really remarkable, and it started a revolution that touches our lives. And we're so honored to be included and to have this car included.
What a magnificent thing. And to have Mr. Taft come by today is just great. I think he kind of looked longingly at the back seat.
He should be credited as somebody who catalyzed the American thought that the automobile will be something that is going to improve America and change it like nothing else before, and it did. And then we have the 1962 Willys Jeep CJ6 from the Reagan Ranch. The CJ6, the long wheelbase version, was a version that was built after the war specifically to do farm chores, and essentially that's what Reagan used it for.
He did like hard work, actually, hard physical work. For him that was recreation, and the Jeep was a very important part of that work.
He loved this Jeep. He would drive it on all the trails on Rancho del Cielo. It really made the ranch experience important to him, and so to have it here on the National Mall is just terrific.
This Jeep itself, beyond being a prized possession of a very esteemed president, was a workhorse. If it could talk, I'm sure it's been up and down a lot of mountains, but it arrived here looking good, and I think that sort of personifies the American spirit.
In addition to getting from point A to point B, cars are an awful lot of fun, and I'm sure President Reagan had a lot of fun in that Jeep each and every day.
That Jeep meant a lot to him because it was the only opportunity he had to drive a car for probably 2 decades. Those of us who are connected with the Reagan Ranch are very proud and pleased to have the President's Jeep be a part of the HVA collection.
You think about throughout American history and all of the great inventions really around the world, there probably hasn't been anything as transformative as the automobile.
It's a major force in how the country developed, and it hasn't really been studied or appreciated for what it is.
So much of our actual physical past we can't preserve. So the idea is to establish and keep a permanent record so that we all know where we came from and what it was that we gave up to build the new things that we build.
50 years ago, in 1966, Congress passed the National Historic Preservation Act. But what has been sorely missing is anything to do with the automobile in a structured way like that. So back in 2014, we launched the National Historic Vehicle Register with the U.S. Department of Interior and the Library of Congress. And the objective was to document vehicles that were truly historic. So why we're here today is to actually honor and recognize 2 great Americans. And it's as much, if not more, about people than it is about horsepower.
The Historic American Engineering Record is very proud to be partnering with the Historic Vehicle Association. Finally, through the auspices of the HVA, we're filling a long neglected gap in recognizing what is some of the most significant of America's technological and engineering legacy, and that is the automobile.
We are a nation of automobile owners and automobile drivers, and so to be able to trace the history of the motor car is really representative of much of the history of America.
It's really important for us to stop and remind ourselves, particularly here around these museums that celebrate our history, that this be a part of it. Makes you proud, brings goosebumps, really.